Donna De Cesare, author, freelance documentary photographer, educator, has done groundbreaking coverage of the spread of U.S. gangs in Central America. Her first major book, Unsettled, Desasosiego, was published within this year by the University of Texas Press.
Photographs record the stories of those whose lives we witness, and also our own journeys of understanding. I am going to talk tonight about my own journey making my bilingual book, Unsettled, Desasosiego. No one in their right mind sets out to spend 20 years on a book. I certainly didn't. When I began my research on the refugees from the wars who fled to Los Angeles for safety, but ended up in neighborhoods struggling with poverty, crime, and youth gangs, I had a very different idea in mind. One evening, early in my research, I made the rounds of the Central American immigrant enclave in Pico Union with a young tagger who told me he could take me to places where the gangs hung out. We didn't run into any veteran gang members that night, but a younger member came up to me and wanted to know what I was doing. I told him I was working on a book about young people's lives. "Lady, put me in your book. You can take my picture," he said, posturing. "Am I going to come out in your book?" he asked. "I can't promise," I replied, "but that if everything went well, it would probably take about 3 years." "I won't be alive by then," he responded dejectedly. "How old are you?" I asked. 16 was his response. "So you'll be 19 when my book comes out," I said with a smile. But then this teenager gave me a math lesson with his body that I will never forget. First, there were the rest in peace tattoos all over his torso. Then he rattled off an additional 15 odd names, cousins, brothers, boys and girls who lived in the neighborhood. "None of them made it to 20. What makes you think I'm gonna?" he asked blasely. I realized then that I had no idea what these kids' lives were like. In the years that I photographed in Los Angeles and then later in El Salvador and Guatemala, I followed the stories of families impacted by war trauma. Carlitos holds a photograph of his teenaged uncle, whose murder in Los Angeles was gang-related. We live in an increasingly visual world. Most young people today relate to seeing images more strongly than they do to reading words on the page. One of the most important lessons that I hope people will take from my work is the importance of providing young people space for their voices and a sense of possibility, as well as real opportunities. These are perhaps the most crucial messages of the words and images in my book. When we neglect children or fail to teach them adequately, just as when we go to war, the consequences affect people for the rest of their lives. Thank you.